Ready to practice making some more silly sounds come out of your mouth? Hello, I'm Eric Wyden, DM for Roleplay Tabletop, where every month our group of friends gets together and plays through a brand new one-shot adventure in Dungeons & Dragons, sometimes with a celebrity guest. And this is video number 2 on how to learn voices for RPGs. By now, you know what all the different sources and filters are, but if not, go back and check the last video, because if you aren't familiar with your vocal anatomy, such as your false folds, your true folds, vocal fry, chest voice, head voice, the diaphragm, all the different filters, and the soft palate, then you're not really going to be able to follow along too well with the later steps, because all those foundational elements are literally required if you want to take learning voices seriously and understand what mechanical devices you need to alter to construct each voice that you're going for, like a guitarist altering their fingers to create a chord. We learned how to do that same thing with our voices in our last video. So if you haven't already and you're taking learning voices or even some singing and metal screaming aspects seriously, then go back and watch our last video, then come back here. The link is literally the first thing in the description below. Now, beginning our portfolio by inventing some brand new voices is intimidating and difficult for someone who's never done voices before, so we're not going to do that. I'm going to display 25 unique voices of people and characters across cartoons, anime, TV, video games, and movies. Then we're going to pick 3 that come the most easily to us. Then we're going to use what we learned about sources and filters in our previous video to dissect what combination of our vocal devices produces each voice. Then we're going to practice calling upon those voices at instant speed, going back to our true voices as a home base. And then finally, we're going to finish by having a small conversation amongst the 3 voices, where we practice the voices themselves, calling upon them at instant speed, and then jumping directly to and from each one, rather than going back to our true voice as a home base. Don't expect to nail this all by the end of this video. Take days, weeks, months even, and keep coming back here to advance to the next step. Now let's jump in! I'm going to mimic 25 voices from characters across multiple forms of media that I felt called upon a wide variety of vocal devices. I'm going to mimic them myself so that you can get a read on what I may be doing to present these voices, since mimicking them is the goal to build our portfolio of different voices. I encourage you to pause at each voice and keep rewinding and attempting to use what we learned in our last video to dissect and figure out what sources and filters I'm using. Then do your best to attempt to mimic it. Your goal is to find 3 that feel comfortable attempting and sculpting through practice. They don't have to be exact, especially right away. Just within your comfort zone, like a new pair of shoes that just need to be broken in. They may never be exact. You're about to see that mine aren't. And that's perfectly okay. If a failed attempt at mimicking Peter Griffin leads to you stumbling into a similar voice that's new to you, then congrats! You added a new voice to your portfolio. And our future videos will cover how to apply different sources and filters to turn root voices like Peter Griffin into dozens of variations. But we're not there yet. Let's just find our 3 voices to start our portfolio. Speaking of Peter Griffin, let's start our list of 25 voices with him.
Yeah, hey Lois, I can use my Helm of Disintegration and do 1d4 damage as my half-elf mage wields his +5 Holy Avenger. Yeah.
Get away from me, donkey! I already told you ogres have layers! So let's go get this princess to Farquaad and get these fairy tale creatures out of my swamp!
Don't tempt me, Frodo! But did your uncle happen to leave any of his sweet herb stashed anywhere before he left? No matter. No longer am I Gandalf the Grey. Now, I'm Gandalf the White.
You know, my name may be Dusty, but that don't mean I'm dirty. But you don't eat that pizza fell on the floor or what? 'Cause that looks tasty. Kronk, pull the lever! These peasants just keep complaining about living in squalor. They should have thought about that before they became peasants.
Alright, the poison. The poison for Kuzka. Poison chosen especially to kill Kuzka. Kuzka's poison. Coming right up, Isma. I'll throw it right on after the dessert. You're gonna love these pastries. They're delectable.
No, Patrick, we're selling chocolates. Hey, little girl, is your mother home?
Stay a while and listen. The Horror Cube lies in the halls of the dead and must not fall into the wrong hands. The fate of the world lies with you, explorer.
Yugi, your grandfather lost to me in a trading card game, and that somehow left him physically devastated to where he can barely stand. Avenge him and his broken blue eyes. If you keep coming in late, you're gonna make me have to do more paperwork. Don't let it happen again. I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching. You think that Neville Longbottom, the witless wonder, would have known about gillyweed if I hadn't given him a book that led him straight to it?
In 17 years, precisely, the planets will align ever so nicely. And indoor plumbing, it's gonna be big.
Okay, kids. Today we're going to talk about the effects of drugs. You see, drugs are bad, okay? If you do drugs, you will get tooth decay and take a dookie in the urinal, okay? Drugs are bad, okay?
You guys! I have a kick-ass idea to help kids get back at their parents for grounding them. We smear their walls with poop. We're gonna make so much money, it's gonna be sweet.
It's almost impossible to imitate Christopher Walken without animating your hands and popping your shoulders and stuff. You might call it a requirement of sorts.
Guillermo, how could you do such a thing? You let the ghost into our home. Now we vampires are scared. But not me, because I do not get scared.
I'm telling you, Nestor, your little pet human is more trouble than he's worth. Just put him down and get a cat or something. I got a possessed doll, and it's literally the greatest thing ever.
Sure, kid. I trained all of those would-be heroes. Odysseus, Perseus, Theseus, a lot of yeses. And I think you might got what it takes. Giving up is for rookies. I'm willing to go the distance. Are you?
There is no good and evil. There's only power, and those too weak to seek it. You've been a faithful servant, Severus, but only one of us may live forever.
Oh, no, we gotta go on a certain paper, blah. Oh, that doesn't work, just show him your bread.
I'm a scientist because I invent, transform, create, and destroy for a living, Morty. When I don't like something about the world, I change it. It's nothing like Saw, Morty. But now you have to solve the puzzles and find your way out. Like Saw.
There are 3 things that I cannot tolerate. Cowardice, bad haircuts, and military insurrection. It's very unfortunate that our friend Vegeta possesses all 3 of these. Now dance for me, monkey! Oh no, Ralph. You're going into a game called Hero's Duty? Sounds like it might be kind of smelly. 'Cause it's duty. Oh, if I ever retire from racing, comedy is calling my name.
Ha! Come on, Bats. Without you, crime wouldn't have a punchline. Get it? Because you always punch me in the... Hey, what are you doing? Are you texting someone while I'm monologuing?
Filthy purposes. Destroy it. Little ones. My precious. Hooks are too snappy. We'll leave them to her.
So of those 25, did you get at least one? If not, reach into your own shows and experiences, picking the most unique voices that stand out to you and fit your register. Then, dissect those voices, the sources and filters that are involved. And then come back to this point once you've got at least 3 voices that feel comfortable and eventually achievable after we dissect them in the next step. Now that we picked our first 3 voices for our vocal portfolio, let's dissect them so that we may properly practice and sculpt them to dial them in. My 3 are going to be
Dusty.
Kronk.
and Deckard Cain. Let's pick them apart. Starting with Dusty. It originates from the true faults, and it feels like it's coming from the back of my throat. Dusty.
Dusty. Dusty. Dusty.
Kind of going in almost like a naturally higher register, just doing that, trying to kind of originate from the very back of my throat. My soft palate is raised just a little bit. If I lower it all the way,
Dusty. 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 Dusty.
right there. I'm not pushing with my diaphragm like at all. This is like no effort on my stomach. It's very light on the muscles, I would say. It's kind of more head voice than chest voice, but resting kind of somewhere in the middle.
Dusty. 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 Dusty.
There's almost no nose involvement,
Dusty. Dusty.
almost no difference there. There's no breathiness or depth behind it either. The voice is very thin. So for additional filters and accents, so far all we're really doing is very back of the throat and just going a little bit higher, soft palate raised just a little bit, and then no nose. So, Dusty.
Dusty. Dusty. Dusty. Dusty. Dusty. Dusty.
And now we're going to add some filters and accents.
He has a southern accent and makes the, like, closed teeth front lisp for S's. S. S.
The volume of the voice kind of rises and falls, kind of like similar to like Eric Cartman from South Park when he gets like excited or anything. And when it rises, you definitely dip into the false folds just to get that crackle when he's like really straining to make a point.
Hey, I'm Dusty. Hey, what are you doing? Hey. Ah, yeah. Dusty. Hey.
So here we are sculpting Dusty's voice from beginning to end. Maintain true fold, but start to project from the back of your throats.
Go into a higher register, add a bit of a southern accent, a lisp, and only dip into the false fold as we elevate the volume. I'm Dusty. Hey, are you gonna eat that pizza? 'Cause it looks tasty. Yeah.
Kronk is definitely deeper. A little bit of soft palate action. If I raise it too much, no, not there, but just a little bit right there. Feel it just a little bit of movement right here. It's almost all breath, too. So, I'm Kronk. It's my... It's true folds and very breathy, and literally the end of each sentence is like pure breath.
I love these cupcakes. They're delectable.
It's a whole lot of breath involved with this voice, both in literally projecting it as well as just like phonetically, just you're letting breath out almost like as an additional letter in the alphabet. You kind of almost naturally want to talk out the side of your mouth or pucker your lips a little bit. And the eyebrow movement is almost also necessary. It's part of the identity of the voice is varying volumes as well. So when you go deeper, you fade into true deep vibrato. This is just true deep voice. I'm just going deep. Soft palate is actually completely almost relaxed right now. And you're trying to whisper, but instead of whispering at a naturally high tone, you're going to go in the opposite direction toward the deeper voice. And then talk out the side of your mouth or pucker your lips a little bit. And messing with your eyebrows somehow also has to do with the voice. Now when you raise your voice, you let it naturally crackle as you tilt all the way into head voice. So I'm raising my pitch a bit, much closer to kind of my normal voice, and then I'm just flexing it into the head voice for just a second, and then letting it crack before tapering back down into my chest voice. So, here we go, just going a little bit in that deeper whisper, puckering the lips and everything a little bit. Soft palate is almost totally relaxed, and then letting it just go and crackle a little bit like that. Now into the filters and accents. So like we had already kind of talked about, it's definitely easier to talk with kind of tight lips, like tighter lips, which tight lips kind of naturally deepen the tone. And the rise and fall and volume are another accent, letting it kind of crack as it dips into your head voice. Focus on popping your P's and bees, like people. People. And then you kind of drag out the last syllable of each sentence and elevate the volume in like the middle of the last word. Then let the last syllable just kind of disappear in a finally drug out breath.
People. People.
So here we are sculpting Kronk's voice from beginning to end. True fold, chest voice, deeper whisper, with the soft palate just a little bit raised. And then flex abruptly in the head voice and let it crack, for elevating the volume as it bounces up and down throughout the sentence. Primarily staying in the deeper setting, but accentuating certain points with higher volume. Keeping your lips rather tight to maintain depth. Even more so at the end of sentences. We're almost all breath, popping our P's and B's. Right, the boys in Perkuska. Coming right up, Isma. And did you try those cupcakes? So now for Deckard Cain. First thing that stands out to me is the soft palate is definitely raised and involved. Totally relaxed. Now slowly raise it until we dial it in. Regular voice, slowly dialing the soft palate into Deckard Cain. Right about there is where the soft palate is. So my voice is still totally regular, and I'm just increasing the soft palates right about there. It's also very Fry. Yet it's still kind of chest voicey throughout. It kind of dips between Fry and just true chest voice throughout, but it mostly lives in the Fry register. So, again, Fry is, So we go from our normal voice, raise the soft palate, go into vocal Fry. The tongue is also pushing a bit against the roof of my mouth, and I let it kind of flop about as I talk. As I just have kind of like a more relaxed jaw. Doing elderly voices typically makes for a more relaxed mouth as a whole. Usually a higher soft palate, as it usually gets that kind of like milky phlegm that's usually kind of in their voices when they're older, almost like a drunk person's voice when they're doing a lot. Like that's a lot of soft palate and just kind of tongue floppy action going on. So we have the loose jaw, tongue flapping all about. The lips are potentially even pulled over the teeth, which is another thing for elderly voices, kind of gets you that regular, hey, listen here, Sonny. But that makes it kind of too old and frail sounding to get to Deckard Cain. But the pitch is originating from the deeper bass that I actually kind of dip into with certain syllables. As it's Deckard Cain. But most of the voice is kind of just higher Fry, which actually feels quite higher and far away from the underlying bass. So Deckard Cain. I'm really kind of chest voicey, kind of deep, but at the same time I'm dipping into the Fry register and kind of trying to go higher. It's kind of like this two-layer kind of aspect going on. Deckard Cain!
Because if I was trying to go high and Fry, it'd be like this.
But we're going deeper like this, so there's this underlying bass that's going on, but at the same time, it's also in a higher Fry.
So the volume and pitch also change. It begins kind of cleaner and then crackles a little bit as I lean kind of more into Fry and get a little bit breathy.
The heraldry cube! Oh!
Kind of projecting, squeezing my diaphragm quite a bit to force that out. For just even that little bit of dialogue, I was really pushing with my stomach. And it does get a little bit more breathy. Not in sound, but in deflating my lungs to let that end kind of drag a bit. This is very, very Fry heavy, this voice.
The heraldry cube! The heraldry cube! The heraldry cube!
There's no nose involvement whatsoever.
The heraldry cube!
That sounds pretty much no different. And wow, there's actually quite a bit of diaphragm involvement. Like my core is really constricting what I'm saying.
The heraldry cube!
So here we are sculpting Deckard Cain's voice from beginning to end. It's chest voice.
Very, very Fry heavy. Raising the soft palate, pushing the tongue to the roof of the mouth at times and slackening the jaw. Sometimes letting the tongue a little bit free compared to other voices as I speak. The volume and pitch vary quite a bit from deeper bass to a higher register, maintaining Fry the entire time.
Pushing quite a bit of breath during
certain accentuations, but not letting the actual dialogue get breathy like how Kronk's was.
So for you at home, try and use what we've covered so far to analyze and understand each mechanical device that's happening to each voice that you're trying. Again, this is new, so just do your best. If you made it this far, then even if you haven't realized it, you've improved. Like, a lot. So good for you. Let's keep going. Now that we learned a little bit about dissecting our voices, we're going to practice calling upon them at instant speed, using our true voices as a home base. Pick a phrase. It can be short, as these voices are new. So, hello and welcome to my shop. That's simple. Standard for RPGs. Now, any way you want, randomize these 3 names, or just randomly pull them from your mind, and we're going to say, hello and welcome to my shop. Then, take 10 or 20 seconds and reset. Maybe say the phrase again in your normal voice. These are new muscles that you're working, and using your true voice as a home base to return to and reset is much easier than jumping from voice to voice. Imagine your vocal anatomy as a series of gears and levers and tracks, and you have everything set and projected one way, then you're instantly reconfiguring and trying to project another way. Pressing the reset button between voices makes it a lot easier. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to do 3, then jump to the next step. But please, stop the video now, and while you're driving to and from work, or cleaning the house, or whatever over the next day or 2, or even for the next week, practice these 3 voices. As Kronk.
Hello and welcome to my shop.
And then true voice. Hello and welcome to my shop. Now for Deckard Cain.
Hello and welcome to my shop.
True voice. Hello and welcome to my shop. Now for Dusty.
Hello, welcome to my shop.
Now we're going to call upon them at instant speed and go back to back to back without going back to home base. You can make up any conversation of your own, but here's going to be my example. It's going to be Dusty, Kronk, and Deckard Cain going into a dungeon. Dusty seems to be having some kind of an issue with his memory. And it sounds like the 3 of them are in this dungeon to figure out just why.
Ouchies! Why am I all covered in cuts and bruises? Wow, look at this dungeon! Who killed all these monsters? Wonder if they'd be tasty.
We did. We're here to find the cure to your resetting memory. Dusty, your fat rolls vibrate and cancel out the sound waves of your movement. Science is bonkers. So, you need to sneak to the next room and uncover what this mad mage's next trial is.
Okay, I'm on it. Snaky, snaky, snaker, snaky, snaky, snaking.
You sure this is a good idea? Don't tell me you're starting to feel bad now. We only have so many more rooms of this dungeon. Do you want to be the guinea pig, walking into each room and triggering the traps every time? Point taken. Cupcake.
Ouchies! I found a new pet! My foot's in a bear trap, and there's a ton of snakes!
Loot the room. Get him out. Then reset his memory.
Deckard Cain shakes a vial of elixir.
The usual.
Their conversation doesn't have to be narrative like that one. You can have them do something as simple as order a pizza, of them just meeting each other for the first time, saying,
Hello, my name is Kronk.
Hi, Kronk, my name is Dusty.
Or anything else, as long as you're hopping from voice to voice to get those muscles working. By now, you have 3 voices. Bring your voice portfolio up to 4. That's including your natural voice as one of them, because that counts. Next video, we'll work on making adjustments to turn these 3 new voices into even more voices, using different filters and accents and whatnot. I'd like to do a video series where you request character voices in the comments, and then I make a video where I dissect and learn a bunch of your requested voices. So if there's a favorite character voice of yours, one that you think would just be interesting to dissect, or one that you'd think I'd have a really hard time attempting and will likely embarrass myself with, then post it down below. Once we get enough of the comments, we'll make that video. Comment what else you want me to explore in future videos, and I'll do it. As always, this is just advice. Play however the heck you want to, because as long as everyone's having fun, then you're doing it right. Thank you so much just for being here. I'll catch you next time.